this time.
Somebody's muted again.
Hi, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Somebody was asking about the sound. I was just making sure y'all can hear me. Got just a couple more minutes. Minutes. Hey, Dr. George. Good to see you.
So excited. How are you?
Doing good. I'm so glad to get to see all of you guys. I'm recognizing faces now that we've been on here for in the last few weeks. And I do chat with you guys through emails. And so it is nice to actually put a face to your names that I see coming through emails. So when I see you, your email, now I know what you look like. It's so awesome. Hey, Lisa. I think we're about ready to start. Let me just double check. Yeah, just a minute left. I want to make sure everybody gets on. We had last night when I was looking at the list, we had about 885 people sign up, and but we're only at 157 right now. So I kind of think that maybe they're going to watch it on replay. So I don't want to hold everyone up. Yes. Okay. So people are asking, are the recordings available? Yes, I can get that link for you. Or Lauren, do you know where that is, where you can send it to them?
I'm trying to get it. Is it in the one-time thing?
Yeah.
I will get it.
Okay. Thank you. If you ever go to my website, Principal Principles, and then on the top navigation bar is a link that says Win Time. And you can just do the little drop down on there and it'll take you to another page that will have anything on there related to the book that you might want. So anytime you're looking for something, go ahead and just go straight to the book, to the Principal Principles. Very good. You want to show them how you got there? So at the top of the Principal Principles page is the navigation bar right there, and drop down, or you click on it and it just take you to another site. That's where you can see all the recordings from week 1 and 2. This is our very last week. I think the Zoom link actually even said that there's one more after this, but there's not. This is the final one. Okay. I think that's kind of been a little emotional today. I don't know if it's just I'm overworked and tired, just completely exhausted. We're transforming a classroom at school, so we've been painting and just really rolling a brush all day yesterday, and I just went home and I could barely make it to 8 o'clock without passing out. So my boss is like working us to death right now, or I'm just emotional because next week I won't see you guys on here, so it's a little emotional. But we're going to go ahead and get started. And we have a lot to say. We have a guest speaker with us today. Also, one of my friends is going to talk too. Well, both of them are my friends, and they're going to share a lot of insight. Christy Parsons is on here. And so she'll talk to you in a few minutes about PLC. She has so much knowledge for us. I don't know if this is an area of need for you, but it was definitely something I wanted to learn more about. And so she is the guru behind all of this, and she's actually in the book. So I just wanted to give her a little shout out when we get to that. But Morris is going to kick us off real quick with the first question.
Hello, everybody. The first question we talked about comes out of the chapter on struggling for the win. And, it's asked, what is your biggest struggle you're facing right now? So type that in the chat box while we talk here a little bit about, what are we struggling with? I just recently, we were listening to a call, getting ready for this, and from the commissioner of Texas Education Agency about what summer school is going to look like. So those are things that we're trying to face right now too, not only with building the transformation and building a good school system, but also how we do it in the environment we're in currently. So one of the things I want to talk about that just a moment. Let's see, we've got transformation, moving school forward, reopening schools. Those are some of the things. I think Stephanie may have shared some of this on her site, but we started what we call a COVID task force, where we have 5 different areas that we're covering to try to understand how we are going to better perform for students when we come back to school. What is it going to look like? And I think the one thing that we've got to keep in mind is that good systems that we're building, as we talked last week, we talked about systems. When you build good systems, we don't need to abandon those. If you have good things that are working in your district, you need to make sure that you keep that flow, keep that going. We just need to pivot it and try to understand how we can deliver it virtually or whatever in a smaller environment. But don't go away from the things that are working. Don't move away from that. Sometimes in an environment like this, you think about, I just got to redo everything. Well, you don't. Just keep the good things that are working, figure out how to pivot it, and continue on. One of the things that I wanted to share with you, we have a return to school plan also. We'll probably be sharing some of those things down the road, just so it helps you and tries to be a resource for you. I think the biggest thing about struggling is on page 121 in the summary. I just want to share a moment about that. You've got to take time to recharge. You've got to take time to make sure if you're struggling, sometimes you have to get away from a minute. And it talks about you need time to recharge your battery so you can focus on the important things. You have to keep the big things to big things and work on the correct work. Don't burn your energy on things that are not going to make the right impact. I think that's why the visioning and the goal setting and all that is so important, and why you have to come back to that, because sometimes you get off track and you get working on the wrong things. I'm going through something that TEA's put out called a Lone Star Governance Coach, and that's for coaching school boards. And in that work, it talks about in your school board meetings, they require you to go through and track the meeting you have and track how much time and how many minutes you're spending on student outcomes. So that's very enlightening when you go through a meeting and then you may not talk about student outcomes at all, or maybe they want you to at least 50% of the time you're talking about something that's impacting student outcomes. So that's been enlightening work that we've been going through. Stay calm, focus on winning the battle, not every war. Mostly, more importantly, keep others in mind in your decision making, and sometimes that will help you focus and come to the right thing. Most importantly, be your best self, follow your heart, be grateful, be courteous, and continue to learn, listen, lead, and never, ever give up. So that was the words there that we left in the summary on struggling for the win. So make sure you remember that.
I think my biggest struggle right now as the principal of the campus is thinking about all the instructional plans that need to be in place. And I know you're probably tackling that same problem right there. And I am just trying to figure out how to develop that. What does that look like? And how best to tackle that. So if you guys have that already figured out, please put it in the chat box. Tell us all about it, because we all are in this boat trying to figure this out. Everybody around the world is facing this, and I'm not sure the best way to tackle those things. Maybe Christy could help us out when we get to PLCs in just a few minutes. But our biggest problem right now as a principal is coming up with an instructional plan for our campus. Anybody else in that same situation, or do y'all have people that create those plans for you? Because a small district, we don't have that. It falls in my lap. I have it. Lauren is talking about Lead Forward. I'm hoping that they develop something. I think we're just kind of sitting and waiting and hoping that that all pans out and we get to see that. So I'm going to move on to question 2 real quick. Question 2 says, is it possible to change your negative members of your team into being a positive transformer? Anybody have any negative people on your campus? Yeah. Okay. So I've been there, and I think we're all faced with that. I've taken some notes for myself, because I think that in this situation, when you're dealing with negative people, you really have to have a game plan. You have to have take some action on that right away. I've actually been in a meeting before talking to my staff, and said something that I guess somebody didn't agree with, and one of my staff members, not at this district, but another one, rolled their eyes at me. And that was the last time they rolled their eyes. Just want to say that. But you know, you're going to face those things too. If you haven't faced them now, you will face them. And so something that we've done here at Hawkins, we've created a district-wide rally cry, which is called Game On, and that is all around our district. Is it right here? Well, we have Hawk posters around. We're in a boardroom right now, but everything we do, we use the hashtag Game On, and what it does is just brings everyone together, and it just keeps us focused as a district, and excited about that. No matter where you go, you're going to have pushback. You're going to have people that are going to fight against you and be resistant, but communication is so critical. What I have found, the problem is with these people is that they don't have the facts, and they don't have the knowledge and skills to understand what is happening. So sometimes it just boils down to that they are unsure what to do. And so if you just give that communication out there, then hopefully they will come around. And I've also found out that you're asking them to do things that maybe they don't have a skill set to carry out. And so sometimes you're going to have to step in and help those skills become stronger. Something that can get your campus all turned up is a philosophy of, here we go again. You're going to come in here this year, we're going to come in and do something different from last year and everything. And just like Morris was just saying, you got to, if you have something that's working, don't throw it out. Keep it going. People like stability. They don't like change, because change is uncertain all the time. One of the things I want you to always do is just don't be quick to jump on a new idea. When people come around and say that, you know, oh, there's this new shiny thing that's going to help you or whatever, don't be quick to jump on there. If you have something that's working, stick with that. You can't guide other people until you actually know as a principal where you're going. So make sure you're clear on the vision of the campus. And that's the whole thing that we've been talking about so much, is know your vision. And we've also talked about, you know, closing gaps and everything. Well, as a school leader, we have to be willing to stand in that gap as a school leader. And that is a very difficult place to stand some days. Some days you're going to be crying in your car like I do, and you're going to be, you know, cheering everybody on the next day. But you got to be willing to stand in those gaps. To bring about a negative team member, you have to be willing to stand in that gap. You need to be able to fill those voids that they're lacking. And I wanted to leave you with a quote real quick from Oprah. She says, everyone can get through tough times because someone is standing in the gap to close it. So no matter whether you're closing it and you're standing in the gap for your teachers, or somebody in your life right now is standing in a gap helping you through a difficult time, you can get through that because that person is closing that gap for you. So just know that. I also wanted to share this with you. True leadership is standing in the gap for others and allowing someone else to stand in the gap for us when we can't. There are days when I can't and somebody stands there for me. So I'm hoping that you are willing, that you're a leader that's going to stand in the gap for other people, for the campus, for your students, and take a change and bring about those transformers into a positive way. So I hope that that is great advice to you. And I think Morris is on to the next one. Nope. Actually, I have Lauren. Lauren is going to answer a couple of questions. Lauren is a principal, and she's a friend of mine, and I asked her to come on here. She has great knowledge and insight on everything. So, Lauren, unmute yourself for just a moment.
I'm unmuted.
Okay. What is the main message of this book that drew you to this book, besides, your friend wrote it?
That, but win time, those of you that know Stephanie, follow Stephanie, she transformed a school. And so in Texas, when I was going to get my master's, I found her when she was blogging and said, I want to be like her. Like, she was my edu hero. And so seeing her get that blue ribbon award, I was like, I can do this. If she's sharing how to do this, I can do this. So what does this book tell me? This book breaks it down step by step. What do I need to do this? So it's just that extra final little push that says, yes, I believe in me. Because I know if you did any of those pops, you can find yourself in all those situations. Because I felt like every chapter I was reading, it's like, yes, this is my excuse. Yes, this is my problem. Yes, yes, yes. So, we have to look at the root. We make the excuse, we put it back, but we can do it. And so this is our year. It's win time for all of us.
Very good. Okay, Lauren, I have one more question. How do you feel now after reading the book?
So you know this, but the rest of y'all do not. I read this the day it came out in one day. But my whole admin team actually is doing this book study. So my APs are in here, my counselors are in here, my instructional coach is in here, because this isn't about me. We are a team and we're in this together. So in order to transform our school, we all have to have this vision. So this is our step one. We are investing in this. We're taking, how do we adapt this to meet our needs for our kiddos to make this happen? And, right now COVID is a little scary and trying, but that's not going to deviate from this, because I think now more than ever, we all need this win time. We need that RTI structure. We need it individualized for each kiddo, because that's how we are going to close some of those gaps that we have developed over this 2-month school at home.
Very good. Absolutely. And something, I get a lot of emails from people that are reading the book, and they said, I think you know my school. Have you been here? Because that is what's happening in my school right now. So I'm glad it really touched you, a lot of you, and I hope that you've gained so much from that. Lauren, you have anything else you want to add? Are you good?
I think everybody can do this. My best advice to any of you, find somebody in this group, message them, chat with them, not necessarily your accountability partner, but this is a network. We are all here to help each other and get through this. So, some of us are at teeny tiny schools, others of us are at larger schools, some of us are in massive districts, some are in small districts. So find a friend, make them your principal, and work through this together. We're a team.
Very good. The next question is, do you think transforming your school is important? Why or why not? That's a very low level thinking question. It is not a deep question, but it is simple and straightforward. The answer is yes, of course. The best leaders have hunger, and they crave new things. Just like a teacher in their classroom, they're starting off the new year and they're transforming their classroom and to make it look different, or they're opening a blank lesson plan book. You expect them to be creative. Well, you expect them to come into the school year and be hungry for excitement for the year and to transform. Well, that's no different from us. They expect that same thing from us. So we've got to build that excitement. And when we do, we will start to transform our school. You remember, it all begins with me. And something I want to tell you about, there are people out there that are in this situation, and this may resonate with you. A friend of mine was interviewing today for a position for a principal's job, hunger for a job, wanting that job so bad that she has worked so hard to prepare for this interview. I also have another friend who works in a district who their superintendent does not recognize all of their talents and puts it to great use. Hunger to transform not just their campus, but transform and bring those leaderships to the district. So if you are in those situations, I ask you to just think about a way to work through those situations, and so that you can bring about great change to your campus. No matter how you frame transformation, it all comes back to one thing. It's improving the quality of your school and everyone who's associated with your school. That's all it's about. No matter what system you put in place and how you drive win time, it all comes back to that it's improving the quality of the people that are in your campus and the systems that you have in place.
Yeah, we've talked during this time about, you are the center of transformation. You're the genesis of where transformation begins, and so are your team members. Recently, I was looking through some videos, and I ran across Matthew McConaughey acceptance speech from an Oscar he did. There's like 20 million views, so you may have seen this on this speech. But he talks about we have to have something each day to look forward to. We have to have someone to look up to, and we have to have someone to chase. And he talks about in that, he tells a story about how that someone came and asked him who his hero was. And he thought about it, and he came back the next day, and they said, "Who's your hero?" He said, "That's me in 10 years. I want to chase, my hero is myself in 10 years. I want to chase myself and be the best person I can be in 10 years. 10 years later, this guy comes back, and asks him again, "Are you a hero?" "No, my hero is myself in 10 years. I want to chase and be the best person I can be." And that was just, I think that's what drives me. I think part of the fun in this for me is the chase. It's to try to transform myself, to try to grow, to try to be the best person I am. That fulfills a need inside of me to be better. And that's just, and I think if you do that and you model that, then transformation is going to be inevitable on your campus. If you have that drive and people see that, it's contagious. But have something to look forward to every day, have someone to look up to every day, and have someone to chase every day. I think that was pretty powerful for me. I think those are good things to live by.
Very good. Awesome. People are on the chat, and they're saying that they're a small school district, 425 kids. Hawkins is on
720.
720. I should know that. But so if you are needing some help and you're in a small district or a small school system, then you can reach out to me anytime too. No matter where you are, win time will work in a large district. You remember the story I told you last time, is that it worked in a larger district that I was at, 10 teachers per grade level, and you can still make it work. Oh, your campus, Lauren, 1,050. Goodness. Okay, so we're getting down to Christy. Christy, unmute yourself. Okay, Christy which year were you Texas?
2013.
2013, and that's when I started knowing Christy, because I started, stalking her.
And I stalked you.
And so that's kind of how we found each other, through an organization called TEPSA. And Christy works in a town not too far from me, and I go visit her campus and get to know her and get to see how she's leading. She is fantastic. So Christy, how can the PLC model make a bigger impact on student achievement?
Well, so many things that you've said have resonated with me, Stephanie, and that's one thing I love about you. You keep your belief system the same, and that's what I want to say about professional learning communities. Went to Solution Tree's professional learning community workshop in 2004. It was the first time I heard the things that I believe had research and it had support. And I want to tell you, win time is about staying the course and transforming. I've had the privilege to lead 2 campuses to become model professional learning community schools. 2 totally different districts, 2 totally different campuses. One campus district that I went into was high performing. They didn't want to change anything because what they were doing was working. But we found that that's not true. Not all kids were growing. So the norm was okay. So we had to decide what the main things were. Another thing is, in looking at a professional learning community, you have to focus on the 3 ideas. We have to focus on student learning, not just instruction, because we know teachers want to talk about instruction first and foremost. But we have to take it back to what are the students learning. During this time of transition that we've had with COVID, we had to say that. We wanted to make things simple, the main things, just like you were saying earlier. And so we had to go back to our essential standards. What's the most important things that our leadership team and our teachers believe that students have to learn to go to the next grade level, beyond content, life, all those things. So we implemented just our COVID-19 virtual learning through just our essential standards. What are our essential learnings? And that was going to be our focus. That kept our main things the main things. What I find in increasing student achievement is the first district I worked in, where I led a campus become a model PLC school. They had high scores, but not every kid was growing. So we had to go deep into question 4. What do we want? What do we do with students who already know it? And we saw an increase in our scores go from high achieving. It was off the chart in 2 years. I came to another district where they had 10 years of data of kids leaving their grade level 30, 40, 50% on grade level. And that was just unacceptable. And so keeping, once again, focus on the student learning, focus on results, and building collaborative culture. I just saw a lot of you talk about culture. That is the first step in building a professional learning community, is to build that culture where all kids are our kids. We are going to take time in our schedule to talk about student achievement, to talk about learning outcomes, to talk about best practices, and then to analyze data and make intervention that's preventive, timely, and focused. That's how you transform schools, right there. And I'm telling you, we could not have done what we did so quickly if we had not built a professional learning community on our campus. Because everyone took a piece and part that needed to happen, and they created it and transformed it, and it just became something that I myself couldn't have done. Like Stephanie said, we cannot do this alone. We have to have everyone. So I've seen, like I said, student achievement, professional learning community does impact student achievement quickly.
Listen to
What I also want to
professional development series that I've been following the last 3 weeks. Tuesdays at 4.
What I also want to tell you is, if you we talked earlier, you mentioned your vision and mission and keeping the main things. As a professional learning community, we have to continue to go back to what is our vision, what is our mission, what are our values, and what are our beliefs. So if you are being negative, we have to remind them what we decided our beliefs were. So like Stephanie said, at our school, we talk about all in for every kid. We're going to be the greatest school on earth. So that means we celebrate small successes, but we are continuing to be lifelong learners. That answer that?
Yes, I was trying. There's so many people on here. I don't know how to find the person who's making a lot of noise to unmute them. Somebody was asking a question. Jeremy has a question in here that I wanted you to be able to answer, is how do we identify and fill the gaps that were created by missing 2.5 months of strong instruction?
Great question. Once again, I want to go, if you don't know a whole lot about building essential standards or essential learnings, we have to start there. What standards does your state give you that you believe students have to know for the next grade level? They have to know across content, and they have to know for life. When you decide those, then assess those things, because you cannot assess all the standards and then make intervention plans. So we're going to assess the main things, and then we're going to, as a team, decide what can we put in place. I actually call them like individualized learning plans, like we usually do with our special ed kids. One year we did that I had 19 teachers teaching 4th grade, and we did an individualized writing plan for each child because our writing scores were so bad. Our gaps from kindergarten to 4th grade in writing, it was like unfathomable. We didn't even know how to start. So we had to look at each individual kid, but don't try to look at every standard. Which ones are essential? Make a plan to build, to intervene with those and build those gaps, and then do the cycle. Assess, adjust, instruct, assess, adjust, instruct.
Very good. I had the privilege finally this year to go to a PLC conference, and if you've never been, I ask that you consider that. It was something that I've never been able to do just because it is quite pricey. The tickets to get in are almost like $700 for registration. So when you see that, don't be alarmed. It is quite pricey. It's between $600 or $700. Plus, then you got your hotel and everything on that. So that's one that you've really got a budget for. Christy,
can I say something real quick about that?
Mhm.
Thank you for building a platform to bring administrators and teachers and leaders together for collaboration, because that is what a professional learning community is. It's time to collaborate, and you've done that with your blogs and your Facebook and your books. But that when you, I want to say, stay true to that. Stay true to building a campus and a district that's truly collaborative, and that everyone has a voice and that they're heard, because dreams do come true. I didn't know anything about professional learning communities when I first started. I cried my first year trying to implement because so many people did not want to do the work. But then the success I say, stay on board, because the success is wonderful. And now last year I was so
Thanks, honey.
stay the course, what I'm saying. Don't jump ship when it gets hard. Keep the main things, and remember that we are better as a team and not as one.
Very good. Is there any PLC books that you would recommend if they're just starting out, or something that you have really enjoyed?
I call it the PLC Bible. It's Learning by Doing. It's Rick DeFore's very first book, and I go back to it. Mine actually looks worn out, and there is a second edition, and so Learning by Doing would be the first one that I would get. And then also simplifying RTI, because I think sometimes we make response to intervention difficult when we can simplify.
Very good.
Christy, there was a question earlier that said, I don't know if you remember, but it says, asked if you could repeat your list you were mentioning. It says student achievement, learner outcomes, best practices, and
Oh, goodness, what did I say? Student achievement, learning outcomes, best practices, and I don't know what I said. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on the spot.
And really, I know what it was. Intervening in a prescriptive, timely manner. Right. We cannot wait. Do not wait till the 9 weeks is over, or the semester's over, or the next professional development day. I have actually literally stopped school and got subs for a whole grade level just to do some staff development in a timely manner, so that we do not continue practices that are going to hurt student achievement.
Yeah. So, Christy, do you do any training or anything that if they wanted to reach out to you, how would they do that?
I am going to type in my email address right here.
Okay.
And I would love to collaborate. Like I said, I'm here and I've seen it work, and I just will not, oh, I did it privately. Hold on, y'all. Also, before I leave, while I'm doing this, please, people have made PLC a bad word, bad 3 letters. And I'm going to say this: let's remember that professional learning community is the way we do things. It's how we act. It's the way we talk, the way we act, the way it's everything we do. It is not a meeting. So we have data meetings, we have planning meetings, we have community meetings, we have virtual learning meetings. Those are all PLC ways of working. So please try to refrain from saying, let's have a PLC meeting, because the mindset then is, oh, I only do PLC during this hour of this time during that meeting. We want PLC to go beyond the walls of your school. I walked into On the Border one day and saw teachers on the patio collaborating about student achievement. That's a professional learning community.
Exactly. And I think sometimes though, and I think Stephanie had to do this, and Chrissy, what's your take on this? But I think sometimes when people don't know what that is, when all they've ever had is a meeting, there's some spoon feeding you have to do, and you have to try to get them to go until eventually they start doing the lunches on the patio,
Yes.
at $2 Tuesdays, or I mean, what?
Exactly.
But what is your thoughts on that?
You stay the course. You stay the course. The people who do not want to buy into collaboration and they want to stay isolated and do their own thing, and it's their kids and not our kids, they'll leave. They'll leave on their own. It about takes 3 years for them to say, I don't want to do this work. I don't want to collaborate with people. I just want to go to my room and do my thing. They'll leave if you stay consistent. I had a 4th grade teacher say that when we first started our journey, that she would rather drink Drano than go and talk about common lesson plans and student data, because she was so used to working in isolation. Then when she saw student success, she literally now is a principal that believes in professional learning communities and implements it. So just stay the course.
Okay. I think, Christy, we appreciate you, and you did put your contact in the chat, right? Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie, for letting me be a part.
You bet. Okay. We're going to go on to the next question, and this is for Morris.
We ask you to kind of think about it first, what your vision is, and if you didn't have one, try to write something down just to get your mind going in that process. So the question is, reread your vision for your campus that you wrote down in part 1. Are there any changes that you want to make to the vision you previously wrote? So I guess, are you happy with your vision? Is there something that you would like to change? I guess is kind of the thought. So our whole, did anyone change anything? I guess that's the point. If you've got anything, share in the group. If you've had any growth or any thought about what your vision looks like from when we started this process. I guess the whole process of this question is to try to move us toward action. Stephanie always says we oftentimes are data rich and action poor, so we want to model moving toward action. So hopefully you did your homework and you gathered your data from last week. That's a story. You're producing your story. You're building your narrative around your vision. So if you have that visioning piece kind of identified where you think you want to go, remember, we've got to have the group. We've got to have the learning community. We've got to have the buy-in from everyone to move us toward that vision. But you need to make sure that you have a direction. You, as the leader, you want to make sure that you know what direction you're going to go. So you have to have that kind of mapped out. So last week I asked everyone to go through, look at your data, come up with a narrative to try to make your own problem of practice. So hopefully you've done that. So I want to talk a little bit about building questions. If you look on page 39 in the problem of practice out of the visioning chapter, that's page 39. If you notice those questions, you want to have some questions that you build in your problem of practice that follow the path that you are wanting the campus to go. So you kind of want to lead those questions into a thought process and make them very thoughtful questions. But if you notice, they're how, what, when, where, when type questions. So that will help you to pull that information out, hopefully from your committee or from your staff. So the hopefully is when you build those questions, we try to take some time and make sure that we set good examples, some good questions that would spark some conversation, that would spark some thought, and that would help you to focus toward what you want to build and what you want to improve upon on your campus. I think one of the things that we've got to make sure we do is that we have that collaboration for buy-in. What we don't want to do is I think sometimes we make a mistake of trying to convert people. We try to convert them over. I don't want to, if you think about, I had someone tell me the other day, if you think about Christianity, that is a process you go through. It's not something you do. It's not a check off the list. It's not something that, oh, I'm going to do this. I mean, that is a transformation. That is a process that one goes through. So in the visioning work, I want you to keep that in mind too. This isn't a check the box, I'm going to do it. This is something I'm just doing because I'm moving forward. It's a process. It's a process that you have to take your campus through. And sometimes there'll be those, and I think sometimes we try to convert people. We try to convince them that that's what they need to do. But I think you need to be thinking about it and being more convicted people. We try to just. I've had some feedback. I think you have to be convicted into what your work is. You have to have that leadership focus and where you want to move your campus, but don't try to convert them and certainly don't condemn them. And but you want to make sure you have the conviction to move forward and make sure that your campus can be the best it can be. And I think if you do that and you keep that focused mindset, then, we talked about earlier, you got to build the knowledge, you got to build the skills, but the mindset piece is so important to try to convince those teachers not to drink Drano, make sure they go to the PLC. So, but the mindset you take in those meetings, I know Stephanie had some of our teachers didn't know what a PLC was. All they had ever been in is meetings. So rather than trying to convert them to PLC, she led them through the process. She took them in and said, this is what it looks like. Here's what I want you to do next week. Here is how we're going to transform. And now we have teachers that are leading PLCs themselves. They're teaching each other. They're going through these hawk walks. We're going through and looking at the work in the hallways and through instructional rounds with teachers themselves. And that has then truly, as we said, become a PLC model where that we're all learning together and people learning from each other. And when that happens, that's when it becomes really exciting and fun.
Very good. So great advice. Okay, the last question we have is, how do you stay passionate about that transformational process even through those difficult times? Because like I said, through last week, it is difficult. You're going to face pushback. You're going to have hard days. And I want you to think about a way you can start your day every day with something you enjoy, no matter what it may be. It may be, your cup of coffee in a quiet space, or, the way you listen to music on your way to work, or your favorite podcast, or whatever it is that's happening. You need to start your day every day with a routine, because you've got to walk into that building with a mindset, because anything that you're going through in your head, you need to leave it outside of that school, leave it in your car, and don't bring it into the school. You have got to make sure that you take time for yourself. And I'm the worst one for that. You guys know how hard I push stuff out. I neglect myself. I put everybody else before my own, and that does catch up with me at times. But I want to remind you of a story that's in the book. And I talked to you about this towards the end of the book. It's I want you to stand among your educational heroes, your champions, because those are the people that you're going to pull their strength from on these hard days. And I talked to you back, I think it was page 164, where I take a trip every year with my friends. Lauren is one of them. And we do that right before school starts for the last several years, because we wanted to, just kind of refuel ourselves before we walk into the school year, and just kind of separate ourselves from school. But it's also that collectiveness of us getting together and talking about, okay, what are you doing? What are we doing? Those kinds of things, and just bouncing ideas off of each other. But there's going to be days when you're going to stare in the face of stress and complete burnout, and your eyes are going to be filled with tears and things like that. But I want you to always remember this: those days matter, because those things are making you stronger, and you won't even realize it until you actually get through that, how strong you are on the other side. these things that you're going to be facing, you're choosing every day to walk in that door every day and to face them, or you can walk out. And you guys, your being here today shows that you're ready to step to that challenge. I want you to end with this quote, or just think about this as doing something easy will never have an impact as significant as facing more difficult challenges. So doing those more difficult things has a greater impact. I also want to read this to you. If you have your book, you can turn to page 165. And I'm talking about in the part of the book right here is that on this trip that my friends took, we went to, I call it a mountain. They call it a rock. It is not just a little rock. It is a steep mountain that I had to climb. And I realized when I'm up there, and you don't know this, but when you're on top of a mountain, you can actually find a better path that you could have taken up there. But you don't know that until you're up on the top and you can look down. Just know that one day, whatever you're going through, you're going to be at the top of that mountain. You're going to see that path. And when you see that path, that easier path, your job is to turn around and tell somebody else how to get down or how to get back up that mountain. We can't hold on to that information. We've got to share that with everyone and to reach there. But I wanted to read this part to you. It's the last part of that on page 165. This simple outlook can be applied to all leaders who are ready to tackle this transformation. There will be easier paths to travel. There will be mountains you have to conquer. We have no option but to climb the mountain in front of us. I know how hard it is to do because I'm climbing them too. So days you feel defeated, every step you are tackling is shaping you. If you get discouraged or tired, don't give up. Keep climbing that mountain. So I'm trying not to get emotional, guys. But I really appreciate each and every one of you. You're doing fantastic jobs, and what we're doing is not easy. You know, we're in uncharted territory with COVID, but I do know that we're stronger because we're together every day, sharing what we have. And I hope that you journey, continue to journey this course with us. I want to urge you that if you're not following on social media, on Instagram, I always post on Instagram daily. So I want you to follow on that, because I'll show you inside of my school and talk to you on stories and stuff like that. But I'm on also Facebook, so Principal Principles. Thank you so much, guys. It says I've enjoyed this book and everything. Thank you guys for all the wonderful help and feedback. Also, thank you for making this #1 for many, many weeks on Amazon. That is awesome. Do y'all have anything for me before we go? Okay, guys. Well, email me if you have anything. It is so nice to speak with you guys. And remember, the recording will be on that page. And have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Real quick, Stephanie, are we going to have another one in the future?
We might. I'll have to come, get through some things right now that we're working on. But yeah, if I can, I will.
All right, great. Thank you. From
Thank you.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, nice to
Thank
see
you.
you. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Hello? Hey. Hello? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.